Hello, everyone. Welcome to our meetup. We're so happy to have you all here. We have amazing speakers with us. And yeah, it's so great to see you all. This is our very first tulu.la meetup. We're so happy that we managed to get these amazing women with us. So yeah, we'll start with a talk by Tammy. She will share her story of growing a chaos engineering community. She will do it the fancy Steve Jobs style, no slides. So only juicy stories and fun facts. And then you can shoot your questions. We will ask Tammy all the questions, and then we'll move to the Fireside Chat. So feel free to comment on the go or just, get ready to get all the tech community wisdom from our amazing speakers. And the mic goes to Tammy.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. So story time. Today, I'm going to tell you a story about chaos engineering. I'll tell you a story of growing the chaos engineering community. And like Sveta said, I'm going to include some juicy details that I haven't shared before. So my name's Tammy, and you can find me on Twitter as well, at Tam Bryant Butow. And I also invite you to connect with me on LinkedIn. So thank you so much for coming along today. This video will also be available online, so you can share that later on too. So now let's get into the story. In 2011, a long time ago now, everywhere I went on the internet, I was seeing chaos engineering, and I knew that it was something I wanted to get involved in. I'd been on call and doing incident management since 2006. That involved a lot of ups and downs. One of the downs being the time that I worked at a university and accidentally deleted all of the emails on the server for a professor that was going through a court case. Yeah, that was terrible. We weren't able to recover them either. So back to the story of chaos. I like the idea of practicing chaos engineering to proactively prevent terrible and embarrassing events which I'd been experiencing. So, well, I kept on seeing chaos engineering everywhere, and I was wondering, how do I start doing chaos engineering at work and get paid for it? Big question. But then one day, by fate, I heard that we were going to start doing chaos engineering at the National Australia Bank. Whoa, yes, amazing. I already worked there. Netflix had released Chaos Monkey on GitHub, and we were going to start using it. Sweet. Before my eyes was this amazing opportunity to be at the first bank in the world to start practicing chaos engineering. So skip forward a little bit. NAB's done chaos engineering and it was a big success. I was thinking, yes, this is rad, but I want more. More chaos, more adventure. So I decided to move to America, the perfect place for both of those things. Shout out to DigitalOcean for being the first American company to hire me and move me out to the US of A. I packed my one little suitcase and got on that plane to New York City. Even this trip included a little bit of chaos. When I landed in New York City, I remember walking over to the baggage claim area, and some unlucky soul was experiencing some chaos right there. A bag had completely split open, and their clothes had spilled out everywhere, all over the baggage carousel. Everything was just flying around. And I thought, wow, that's terrible. Then I realized that's my bag. Oh my God. So, as a good incident management does, I thought, what's the best way to resolve this incident before jumping in? I decided the best course of action was to just wait for everyone to leave while my entire life went around and around, and everyone said, glad that's not my bag. Once the room cleared, I grabbed my bag and the zipper had broken. But amazingly, I was able to fix it MacGyver style, grab my whole life, and walk out of there. When I started working at DigitalOcean, I was excited to meet other people who were interested and passionate about working in technology. I love working in tech. I've wanted to do it since I was like 4 years old because my mom's best friend worked at Microsoft and I thought it was the coolest job ever. He also rode motorcycles and he had the internet, so I just thought it was amazing. I wanted to find other people that were interested in chaos, Linux, and cloud infrastructure. So back then, I created a community called Ladies Who Linux. We had an amazing turnout for our first meetup and it was tons of fun. We advertised it on meetup.com and just invited everyone, and tons of people showed up from all these amazing tech companies from all over New York City. Working at DigitalOcean, I got to do a ton of incident management and fire drill type of work, and it was a really awesome experience. Then I got a call from Dropbox. They wanted me to come out to Silicon Valley to lead their databases team and their Kafka team. They wanted me to help them reduce incidents and improve reliability as an SRE manager. Sweet. I packed my new bag once again, and moved my entire life out to San Francisco. When I got to SF, a ton of doors opened. I started sharing how I was practicing chaos engineering with my team. Shout out to Slava. He's actually the co-founder and CTO of tulu.la, the platform that we're using right now. Back then, years and years ago, in 2015, he was one of the amazing engineers on the databases team at Dropbox. Slava and I worked hard to improve reliability, and we did a ton of chaos engineering. It actually resulted in a 10x improvement in reducing incidents in the first 3 months, and then we had no more high severity incidents for a whole year after that. We were sharing internally with everyone at Dropbox how we were getting these great improved results for reliability, and everyone thought it was awesome. It was really exciting. But I also really wanted to meet people at other companies in Silicon Valley and around the world who were practicing chaos engineering. I just hadn't really met many people, but I was sure that they were out there. Then one day, as fate would have it, an email landed in my inbox. You were invited to an invite-only, private, exclusive chaos engineering event. This event has been running for several years, and now we'd like you to come along. I was like, whoa. Now, one thing you have to know about me is that I am super inclusive. I'd rather throw a huge event and invite everyone than have a tiny party with 10 people. The more the merrier. You never know when or how you'll make a new friend. I'm also super extroverted, so the idea of an event with hundreds or even thousands of people sounds rad to me. So I didn't love the fact that I was being invited to a secret Chaos Engineering Society event. I actually thought that that was really holding back the chaos engineering community to do it in this way. At that moment, I thought, cool, I'm not going to attend this private event. Instead, I'm going to make this community way more inclusive and way bigger. So I set out on a mission to do exactly that. And yes, there were lots of ups and downs along the way. The first thing I realized was that there was no book written at the time about chaos engineering. It didn't exist. So I rented this really cute cabin by a lake because I thought that would be a cool way to write a book. It was absolutely so much fun. Misty, it was in wintertime, it was snowing. It was an awesome Airbnb. And I started writing the outline for the first ever chaos engineering book. I decided it should be written inclusively by engineers from Dropbox, where I was at the time, Netflix, Google, Gremlin, and anywhere else that I could find engineers practicing chaos engineering. I wanted to help share the stories of what everyone was doing. During that time, writing the outline and proposal, I also reached out to a mentor, and he gave me an intro to an editor at O'Reilly. I booked a meeting with the editor in New York City while I was there to speak at Velocity. That was just a few weeks later. I flew back over to New York and I walked into the New York coffee shop, excited to meet him and share my idea. Hey, mate, O'Reilly hasn't written a book on chaos engineering yet. I think you should. And I've got a number of companies and engineers interested in contributing, and I've even written an outline already. We have so many great stories to share. He said, I'd be in touch. And I thought that was kind of weird, but I waited and radio silence. Then a few months later, I hosted the first ever chaos engineering boot camp at Velocity in San Jose. This is still while I was at Dropbox. And I honestly thought maybe 20 people would show up, but my room was packed. They actually had to move me to the biggest workshop room because over 300 people signed up. Whoa. Lucky for me, I was ready. I'd spun up tons of DigitalOcean droplets for the workshop, and I was ready to rock even though I was there by myself. And then I saw someone walking towards me with a box, and I was so busy getting ready, but I wondered, what's this box? They put the box down on the stage and said, you can give these books away. They are the new O'Reilly Chaos Engineering books. Whoa, hold up, I thought. Excuse me? This is the first I was hearing about that. Apparently, they liked my idea, but they cut everyone out. And again, it was a non-inclusive chaos engineering moment in the middle of a super inclusive moment that I was trying to create. Damn. They decided not to reach back out to me, not explain their decision, and cut everyone out except Netflix. But they liked the idea and they did think it would be a good idea to do a book. Well, I was absolutely disappointed, to be honest. What a shame. But anyway, that wasn't going to stop me trying to make the chaos engineering community more inclusive. I had 300 people filling up this room in that moment, excited for me to run this 3-hour workshop that I was leading completely by myself. Time to get started and make everyone feel welcome. The first Chaos Engineering Bootcamp was a massive success. It was so much fun. Some drama happened for sure, as it would when you're trying to do something that's never been done before. At one moment, I had a line of 20 people who needed me to restart their servers, their Linux servers, since they'd messed them up so badly with all of the chaos engineering experiments we'd been running. And they were tweeting photos of this huge line all over Twitter. It happens, but we got through it. And I decided in that moment that it would be so fun to do this again. Fast forward to a few months later, and I joined Gremlin, the coolest chaos engineering company there is. Shout out to Jason Yee in the chat. He now leads the Gremlin advocacy team, and he's always happy to teach everyone more about chaos engineering. So back in 2018, Gremlin knew about my boot camps, my book idea, because I asked them to be in the book. I'd also told them I really wanted to create a super inclusive chaos engineering conference in 2018 and invite everyone, make it really fun, encourage engineers from all over the world to get up on stage and share their story. Make the videos available on YouTube for free, create free and inclusive content for anyone to access no matter where they are. And they gave me a big thumbs up to all my ideas. The reason that I also really care about making content free and available to people no matter where they are is because I grew up on an island in the middle of nowhere, totally isolated, called Australia. And it's really hard to get to a conference or something like that, even get to America when you live in Australia. Even with time zones, it's hard to make it to a conference because everything happens when we're asleep. So just having videos recorded on YouTube is awesome. Gremlin at the time also had created a chaos engineering Slack, and it had about 20 people back in 2018. So it was really small, just getting started. I thought we could totally grow that and help everyone from all over the world find each other and connect. So I was doing a ton of work in those early days at Gremlin. I was employee number 9 and wearing a lot of hats as you do in a startup. I got started planning the first ever chaos engineering conference, which we named ChaosConf. We weren't sure how many people would come to the first one in SF, so we booked the Alamo Draft House, super rad venue that holds around 300 people. Gremlin had just raised our Series A, and we were the first ever chaos engineering company. But the only time I'd been to a chaos engineering event was my boot camp at Velocity, and I wasn't sure if that was a normal size crowd for chaos engineering, 300 people, or if it was actually possible to be much larger. We sold out of tickets for ChaosConf in weeks. I actually thought about moving to a bigger venue, but we're running way too short on time. We just decided we'd make 2019 massive. The first ChaosConf was awesome. We had speakers from Twitter, Amazon, French Rail, all the way from Paris, Walmart, Honeycomb, and more. And it was so much fun to meet everyone IRL. It was really a dream come true. During that year, we kept growing the Chaos Engineering Slack, running more boot camps, and giving talks at conferences. I wanted to find everyone who was interested in chaos engineering and bring us all together so that we could learn from each other and share stories. I always believe that we're stronger together than we are apart, and making friends with common interests is honestly just fun. I love it. So in 2019, if we skip a bit further, we ran the biggest chaos engineering conference ever. We booked the Regency Ballroom in SF, which is absolutely huge, and we hosted over 1,000 people. It was packed. We had speakers from Google, Expedia, Target, MailChimp, Under Armour, Starbucks, Postman, Datadog, Fire Hydrant, Condé Nast, and it just goes on and on. There were so many companies practicing chaos engineering, and they hadn't shared their stories yet. It was actually so hard to pick the talks in 2019 because we got so many amazing submissions. I wanted to have everyone speak, but it was a single track, 1-day conference, and we just didn't have enough speaking slots to share all of the stories that year. We decided in 2020 we'd go way bigger and make more space to share as many stories as we could. So in 2020, we had the conference that was totally online. And actually, Jason, who's in the chat, hosted that and he created the program. It was an epic 3-day conference with thousands of attendees. Totally amazing. We were so excited to bring everyone together again. When I think about the chaos engineering community now, I'm so glad to have been a part of creating a super inclusive and massive opportunity for so many of us to just find each other. To me, that is what community is all about. Finding new lifelong friends with common interests, sharing stories, the good and the bad, and learning from each other. So if you're interested in joining the chaos engineering community, I recommend that you join the chaos engineering Slack. Head over to gremlin.com/Slack and join the almost 10,000 people that are over there right now. I also recommend that you go to the introductions channel and introduce yourself by sharing a story. Find other people to collaborate with in the learning channel. And if you want to get paid to practice chaos engineering like I did, then check out all the awesome jobs that get posted over in the jobs channel. It's a really inclusive and welcoming community, and I can't wait for you to join it. Thank you so much. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Oh my God, Tammy. That was absolutely awesome. It looks like we should probably take it to Netflix and do a whole TV series. I could feel the audience just sitting there silently, holding their breath and listening to your story.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's been so fun. It's been an amazing long journey. Yeah, a lot of ups and downs, like I said. And I see Jason wrote in the chat that we're currently in early planning for ChaosConf 2022 in person. So that's going to be so awesome to be able to actually meet up in real life again. And also, folks asked how to join the Slack, and I saw that Jason posted that there, gremlin.com/Slack.
I also posted the link under the video. So,
amazing.
Yeah,
that's
everyone
so cool.
can join.
Yeah.
If you have any questions to Tammy, this is just the right time. Yeah, so Elena has a question. Which practices, techniques help you make and keep the community inclusive?
Yeah, definitely. I do have a lot of different techniques and practices, and they differ based on if it's an online community or if it's in real life. I've done both. And so I'd say for online, I actually have a lot of tools that I like to use because I'm an engineer by background. I always think about scale and automation. And when you're leading a community, say that has thousands and thousands of members, like the Gremlin community is 10,000 members in Slack, then automation is important because in the early days at Gremlin, what I used to do was actually welcome every single individual person that joined the Slack. I would post and say, welcome, I'm Tammy, nice to meet you. And I was always also doing all this other work, but I love to meet people. And eventually I was like, yeah, this isn't going to scale. Like there's so many people joining every day. I just can't do that. So I actually started to use a bot called Donut, which is what we still use now. And there's automated workflows. But in there, we encourage everyone to like be friendly, be kind, to share. And I also think by modeling good behavior and like good community interactions, that's actually what creates an amazing culture, is by the people who are leading the community, showing everyone this is how we talk to each other. This is how we help each other. This is, how we communicate in this community. That's the most important thing. The other thing I would say is for, conferences which are in real life, what I love to do is like send information up front so people don't feel nervous or shy when they're about to attend, because I actually think that's really common. So I like to create opportunities for them to just feel more comfortable. Like, here are some people that are coming to the conference. This is a hashtag. We're already sharing some stuff. Here's some fun, engaging events that we're going to run, but nothing's mandatory. You can like do what you feel like doing. And then also I love to open up a conference and just welcome everyone. Make sure that everyone knows, like, you have friends here. Everyone's going to be nice to you. That's what this is all about. And I think just like encouraging that creates that amazing vibe. And to me, it's all about like making something feel really, really good. And I just think that you can do it if you believe it. So that's always been my sort of idea of that. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do another question.
Sure.
Could you share some good resources to get into chaos engineering?
Oh yeah. So actually, best thing if you you've got Jason here in the chat. I do think the best thing to do is to join the community if you go to gremlin.com/Slack. And then also if you go to the Gremlin website, gremlin.com/community, I actually have written so many tutorials. There's like over 30 tutorials that I wrote, which are hands-on how to practice chaos engineering. So I shared those there. And then there's also a really long article about the history, principles, and practices of chaos engineering. And then I honestly recommend just giving it a go. And Gremlin runs boot camp. So if you go to gremlin.com/bootcamp, you can sign up for a free workshop to actually learn how to do chaos engineering. They give you a full environment to get started. So I recommend doing it that way. Read a little bit and then just learn by doing and learn by meeting other people and having fun.
And you can also get a certificate.
Yeah, we have a certificate program that we built. So Jason and I also worked on that. So yeah, if you go look up the Gremlin certificate program, there's actually 2 levels and you can add it to your LinkedIn and everything. There's thousands of people who've got their certificates now for practicing chaos engineering, which is awesome.
Yep. There's another one. What are the biggest hurdles you faced while managing a chaos engineering community?
I'd say the hurdles are more like the stories that I shared today where, you had this big dream and then it got squashed and you're like, oh no, and then you have to change direction and pivot. But to me, I think I'm like very resilient. So whenever something happens, like a challenge or something doesn't go how you dreamed it would, I always think, well, that's probably, going to happen some of the time because you're making these huge, big wishes that for things that have never happened before, that you've never done before, that no one in the world has done before. So you don't know if it's going to go well, Like we didn't know for ChaosCon how many people would show up, if we would sell out, how fast we would sell out, but we just tried our best. And so to me, I'm very positive. So I just honestly focus on like, how can we make this work? And that's why so many things that I've done have worked because I just like keep going until it works. That's sort of my focus. I think a lot about it a lot like running, like you don't just stop running, you just keep going. You keep trying to go a little bit further every day, with any type of fitness or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is absolutely fantastic advice. What if we get the 2 of our other speakers join and we can probably take 2 other questions to all of them. I think they're pretty relevant.
Yeah, let's do it.
Anna and Patricia, could you kindly join? If you go to backstage and click join, we will get you here on the stream.
Here we go. Okay, good.
Awesome.
Hey, this is Patricia and Anna. Could you say a few words about yourself so our audience know you a little bit better?
Anna?
I can start. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Tammy, that was fascinating. I really like it. I'm Anna. I'm like more than 15 years in technology, and I'm currently a product manager in API shipping company. I'm working with a bunch of different business stakeholders and engineers, and I will say that we have chaos not only in engineering, we have chaos everywhere. It's like a startup mode. And I really like that we have a woman in engineering, woman in technology speaking. I really appreciate that Sveta found such a wonderful speakers. We need to support community and all non-binary people, like all bring together more people in STEM. And yeah, I will be happy to cover some questions we have. But right now I will give a chance to speak Patricia, another amazing speaker we have.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here today with all of you. I'm Patricia Dugan. I am the Senior Community Manager at Demandbase. I come from a long background in software, everything as a service, but the past 7 years or so, I've been 100% all in on the open source side. Until 10 weeks ago, I was for 3 years at Traffic Labs, which is French tech, as the head of community there. And now at Demandbase, I'm working on a really spectacular challenge that is very different from what I'm used to, but it is kind of what I'm hungry for. And that is really bringing, well, that's neither here nor there, but we could go into it if you will eventually probably touch on my experience. I'm also the founder of Gather Women's Social Club, of which I put the link in the chat right now. I started this club in 2017. Right at the moment, it's a bit of a legacy, just because bandwidth and also COVID hit, and I did a couple virtuals, but I'm one of those who, I'm usually somehow triplicating my one human body into many efforts. So anyways, it's still alive, and at the essence of it, though, it is a club for those who identify as women. But before COVID, I started opening it up to really all who support that, because to the point of your point, Tammy, inclusivity is hugely important, and having that fundamental feeling of like, well, you're welcome here. So anyways,
Yeah.
that is my background overall, and I'm just supremely grateful to be here with everyone who showed up today, and these three amazing women who are technical and entrepreneurial and also inclusive. And I actually have excited questions for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic lineup of speakers, and I'm so happy we're pushing the diversity in tech forward and forward. All of us are a little announcement while you are talking, like while you are listening to us. You can check out our game on the left, and we have this fun crosswords. Please, speakers, don't do this, or you can be kicked out of the backstage. It's just for the attendees. You can check it out, and we'll be raffling a special Aussie themed prize from Tammy today. It is absolutely amazing because it is a snack pack.
Yeah.
Australian snacks handpicked by Tammy. And go check out our game and shoot your questions in the chat. And let me start by asking you, what are your favorite tech communities besides your own communities or the communities that you lead?
I could say, I'll start with mine. So mine's not particularly tech, but I think you already know because I said it earlier. But one community that I find as a woman really, really awesome because of its breadth, frankly, is ELPHA, ELPHA. And though it's not a tech community, it was started by an engineer and entrepreneurs, and thus it has that deep kind of backbone of like, a strong community of engineers who live within it. And I'm probably not the best one to speak to that, but.
What about you, Anna?
I was right now thinking I have three favorite communities. One is called Ignite to help. It's like charity community which helping students to be exposed into STEM. A lot of companies participating, making some workshops to teach students from 5th to 9th grade what's the STEM, why not too afraid to step into this field. Second one community, it's called Russian speaking women in Silicon Valley, like everyone who have like Russian speaking background, they're sharing, they're supporting each other. It's very interesting, and I highly recommend if you are immigrate from somewhere to US, reach out to people from the same country or with the same cultural background code. I think that's amazing because you know kind of what to experience and you go through the same path. And the third one, it's called Parley House, and it's not technical community at all. It's more about uplifting a woman, empowering, sharing stories, sharing experience, and it's like so touchful. They have online, they have offline events. They probably could be represented in your city. They're in US. They're right now expanding to Europe and Middle East. Very interesting. It's all about like supporting and sharing. I'm like in general have motto in my life. It's learn, share, repeat. You're always learning something, then you're sharing, and then you again repeat the process.
Where did you learn this from? Did you make it up or?
I make it up.
I love it. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Learn,
I
share,
will put it on my business card.
Yeah, exactly.
And I can recommend the community for community builders, community managers, and everyone who's basically interested in community building. It's called Community Club. It's pretty new. It's around 1 or 2 years old, but it's absolutely amazing. And what I love about it is like everyone is so helpful. Everyone is just willing to get you to your results. Everyone is just so welcoming and nice and kind and open to share any knowledge and resources. So absolutely recommend everyone check it out if you're into community building of any sort. And another question is, what are your favorite resources on community building? Like maybe books, maybe it is like websites, I don't know, webinars, any educational programs, just anything that you can that you find helpful.
Oh man, I'm thinking of this one person who I love his work. Now I can't remember his name. Let me see if I can find it while we're on this topic. But he had someone draw a cool graphic around how you can define the lagging and leading metrics in community. Let me see if I can find him. And while you all talk,
it sounds a bit like the Orbit Love model from Patrick.
Yeah,
Woods.
I think he's actually
Patrick Woods.
No. He's not Patrick Woods, but I first of all, I love Orbit's design. And so I'm connected to their designers. So good.
Absolutely.
I love Orbit, what they've done. And I love the way they've disrupted in this really kind of soft way, but super disruptive.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm getting off point. Don't mind me.
Yeah. I think for me, like I'm inspired definitely by people like in the community. That's like the main thing for me,
Exactly.
rather than books or articles that I've read specifically, especially because like tech is still so new and there's not many books like written about community. That's a great idea to write more books. But definitely, you know, there's a few people who are doing great work. Like I really think Linda, she's the founder of Common Room. She's amazing. She was like from AWS and she built a lot of their programs for developers, like their whole Twitch program that AWS has. She worked on that and rolled that out, and that's massive. So like, I don't know, people always come to mind where I'm like, that person has done amazing things. Like I recruited Jason Yee to join Gremlin because he'd already done amazing work at Datadog and in the DevOps community. Julie Gunderson, like she done amazing work at PagerDuty. And so, I just have like all these people in my list of like, wow, like they're just totally amazing at building a wonderful, like welcoming community and then just doing things that you wouldn't even expect. Like it just blows your mind, the work that they do. So
I agree with you. And I would wonder if any of you would have comments on this, that I have felt for quite some time now that I feel like community is one of those weird, it's an edge discipline is what I call it to any, because it can mean like someone who tweets here and there to someone deeply technical. And for starters, that's hard. Anywhere, that can be hard on people because it's like, wait, I'm worth more than you're telling me I'm worth. That's a challenge. But then also to your point of sometimes people over community as far as learning. Also to your point of being super experimental and iterative, and that's not a bad thing, that being a good thing.
It's a good thing, especially in community because things change so fast. So people who are just like brave enough to try different things, like I love seeing that. That's awesome. You know, it's amazing. I think it's really cool this meetup is happening to get folks together that are passionate about community. And it's very different. Like I remember going to community meetups 10 years ago. It's totally different for like how to build your community. And I think back then it was more about creating a movement, which I like the idea of creating a movement, when you have a purpose and a goal and a vision and everyone's behind it. Hey, Julie's here as well. That's awesome.
I just want to add to like Tammy's point. It's exactly about people. And I think a lot of not extroverts like we are, most of us, they are afraid that community also equal to sales, that you are coming and someone trying to upsell you or someone trying to use you for something. And the first of all, it's about people to like sharing those knowledge and experience, and maybe is the fact you will be interesting in the company or something could happen, some partnership. That's what should be like the main goal of those communities. And I think a lot of people afraid of like opposite, being like used by someone. And in terms of the books, I will say a really, really interesting book, and it's not particularly about community, is about personality and being part of this community's personality. It's called Multipliers. It's about two different
I've read
types
that. That's
of
a good
people.
one. Yeah,
it's really nice. It's like so warm, welcoming, and you immediately understand who you're surrounded, who's your multiplier, and who's your determinator, the one who is like taking energy from you.
Yes.
I think that's interesting. That's also part of like community culture, that you are multiplier.
Can I jump on the tail end of that? Because I had a question written on my whiteboard for the past 3 days, and it's aligned with that, which is around how culture and community overlap, or are they the same in your perspective? You know, like where does culture begin or end versus the community, or are they 100% correlated?
Yeah. I think a lot about this. Like they often say in a startup that the culture is created by the first 10 people that work at the company. And I totally would agree with that. Like it's really hard to change culture later because often it's established pretty early. Like you can do it. I've seen it done, but it's a lot of work to change a culture. And it requires so much training, so much messaging, and
they have to want to change.
Exactly. It takes a lot of work. Yeah. And yeah, definitely. But in terms of like culture and community, I also think that it's often established really early by the people who kick off the community, but also the first members. Like it's not just the people leading the community, it's the initial members that give feedback for like, what do we want this community to be like? That's my favorite way to do it. I love it when it's like that. It's like we come together and we decide like, what should this look like? How should it grow? Where do we want this to be in like 10 years? And yeah, those are my favorite types of places where it's inclusive like that. Yeah.
You're inspiring me to think of someone named Patty McCord, who's like kind of legacy Silicon Valley. But I remember, because I won't go too deeply in the story, but in my journey, that was actually the catalyst to creating Gather. You know, it was a bumpy road. It didn't come because it was so easy. And Patty McCord was known for her work at Netflix. And she said, a company tells who they are by who's promoted and who's fired. And I feel the same in community. Like your community tells who it is by how you treat each other, what is acceptable within the community, if we're inclusive, if we make women or any other, group feel not welcome.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I could think of that like, sometimes when we're hosting ChaosCon, for example, we'd be like, wow, this person in the community has an amazing story. Like we want them to be on stage in front of thousands of people, even though they've never done a talk before. And they're nervous, but we're going to help them get to that point where they feel comfortable enough to do it. And that felt really good. But it's exactly that. Like you're finding this person who you want to shine a spotlight on because they're amazing. And that's like, this is what we want our community to be like. Like, let's learn from each other and showcase this. Yeah.
Even further with something you said earlier around, or no, it was you, Anna. I think you said it. Or I'll just say one of you said it. It was about how not all people, either want to be on camera or know they can, right? And that's where it means so much.
Yep.
Yeah, I think another point, I think built like what Tammy said. I feel that very often on some conferences or even inside the communities, you see same speakers all the time because people like four of us, we're pretty active and we're like, if anyone asking us, do you want to join? We're like, yeah, we're happy to share. But I think one of the ideas of community is also motivating people who have a lot of knowledge, offering them like, hey, I think you will be very valuable. Like, I think it's important to people to learn what you want, and then start helping them to share this information, because not everyone comfortable even inside the community to share. They're not organically, not, I will not say good at speaking, they're not organically get used to do a public speaking. But that's important inside the community to motivate and support those people who are very knowledgeable and they could bring a lot of value and they can teach other people. It's just not organic thing for them.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I can add a little bit to that. I did a whole talk about how non-inclusive the tech speaking is, like especially larger conferences. So we've done a bit of research before I gave the talk at the one of the conferences for Linux Foundation, and it was like only 4% of new speakers join every time at the tech conference.
4%.
So same people share same ideas again and again. They just travel around the world, to the US, and just giving same talks. And what we did our own conference, which is called DevOps.org, Diversity in DevOps, 2 years ago, to kickstart tulu.la platform, by the way. So this is how it all started. And we invited very kind of amazing, well-known speakers, but we also had 3 speakers who were completely new. And we helped them deliver their talks. We just kind of provided some guidance, kind of some, we just were kind of believing in that they would deliver great talks, and did some rehearsals. And we ended up with a pretty interesting result. Like, no one ever thought they were the first time speakers. Everyone thought that they were like super experienced DevRel style speaker that goes and delivers this talk like 20 times a year. It was so amazing. And the passion that they brought to that conference was like truly special, because it's not just another conference, it's the only one or the first one conference. So they just bring all that passion and they share their real life stories, which was absolutely amazing.
That's amazing.
We have this question from the audience, from Elena, about, do all tech communities need to create a community or participate in one? And when does it make sense to build your own community, and when is better to join an existing one? It's a tough one.
Yeah, I'll say for me, from my story with chaos engineering, it was like there was this private, like, exclusive community that existed, but it was so hard to get in. And like when I finally could get in, like I got the key to the door, I was like, I don't know, this just seems wrong. And so it was like, I'm just gonna break down the door and like invite everybody. But that's just my style, And so yeah, I just think like it depends on the situation. Like, does it exist already? If yes, like sometimes it's better to just all merge together. Something we did at Gremlin, which was really cool, was, when the pandemic first happened, obviously like no one could do in-person conferences. So we created something called FailoverConf, and it wasn't just run by us. It was run by like over 10 different companies, and we all got together, we all promoted it, we all invited speakers, and we had like over 10,000 people register. So that was amazing, right? Like that was a cool way to just come together and do it together. And it was like, we're stronger together than we are apart. In that moment, it was an amazing, like, just showing of the tech community coming together. Yeah.
Yeah. 10,000 at a conference. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was epic.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was cool.
There's another question from Elena about how, could you share some practices and techniques about making the community inclusive, keeping the community inclusive?
Yeah, what do you think, Anna and Patricia? Yeah.
Well, I would say for me, and I think I'll always be a late bloomer. It doesn't matter when you talk to me at what year, but I mean, I have always been, as a human being, and surprisingly, I am still this way, just at the core of myself, positive. Like you were saying, positive, inclusive, nice to people. I want to be nice. I mean, it's just, now I'm forgetting the question, but I think,
keeping it inclusive, like,
how
do you do that? It's like a special secret thing that you can do sometimes. Some people are just really good at it. Like, I feel like it's natural. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was telling one of my colleagues where I'm at now that every day that I get up, I consciously kind of program my mind that no matter what, I always think of things, because I'm dramatic, but it's like if you were an opera singer and you're holding a note or something, or any kind of singer really, but you're holding a note, and like when you're in community, I mean, your note is that you are my priority, or whatever, all of these, whatever you want to represent. And you can't be all over the place. You can't be like one day like, oh, you mean so much to me. I mean, wait, I'm in a bad mood now. And we don't, it's like, it has to be all the time, 24/7. And it's not just to me. It's like, Tammy, all of you get this. Jason gets this, right? Like every side of you, it's like being a superhero. Like everywhere you turn, like a diamond has to be, you are me, right?
Yeah.
I told someone recently, I said, people always think it's like, oh, I'm community. And it's like, I said, I'm a slave, dude. I'm a servant. I am the epitome of the servant-ist leader, right? Like, I mean, but this is how I
servant leadership. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of servant leadership as well. Like the big thing that I always did in the Gremlin community from the early days, and up till we had thousands and thousands of people in the Slack, like over 8,000 people, I was still getting daily DMs from folks, like feeling comfortable to reach out to me to ask me questions. And I think that's like when you know you're doing a good job, when people are reaching out to you directly and asking you for people to meet or advice or like getting them through a problem. And you're like, yes, I'm doing a good job.
But can I ask you, this inspires a question for me, which I say, you know, I'm every woman is what Gather made me realize. So like, with that, yes, you're doing a good job. But for me personally, sometimes the only time anything other than a super positive attitude comes out is that it can be, and as anyone who runs community or the pager duty, you know, kind of stuff knows, that it is tiring. It can be exhausting. And so how do you manage keeping that spirit up when it's
Yeah, I've been asked this a lot. It's super interesting. Like, I honestly think I have very high energy levels naturally because, like, I don't know how else to explain it. Like, it's really,
and resilience, by the way.
Yeah, like, I mean, I go to bed early. I go to bed last night. I went to bed at 9 p.m. And, you know, I sleep like 10 to 12 hours most nights, you know, but I think it's different if you have, you know, kids, like maybe you've got a baby and you're up at night, like that's going to make it harder, right? But I think the other thing too is like, as a community leader, you want to try and make it inclusive for everyone. Like, I'm even like, you know, if you're in the community and you're having a bad day and I can tell, like, and you're messaging things that don't seem like you, I'm going to reach out, right? I'm going to be ping you directly. Hey, you okay? Like, you know, what's going on? Is everything good? Yeah.
I think, Tammy, you're bringing a really good point, which I was about to share. It's empathy. That's really important in community, when you're not only talking, again, even though we're very open and like high energy, and same Tammy as you, it's also about ability to listen people, understand what's their pain point, right? Like as some of our participants said, like Alexi, sorry if I'm pronouncing it correctly, you're right. It's like that's what you mentioned, like a fear of public speaking, right? That means we need to hear you and we need to start working together. Okay, let's have nice faces like ours. Let's talk together. Let's practice. Let's have a script. This is the empathy. The empathy if something is like, you know, you hear that someone is sad, someone is upset. Let's talk. Because I truly believe that, as Patricia mentioned, being nice will also get tired. It's important being nice because then at some point we will be tired, right? And someone will come to us and ask, like, hey, Anna, are you okay today? And I'm like, no, I'm not okay today. Yeah, please, let's discuss this like in a couple days, for example. Ladies, I need to drop off. I'm right now at the conference, as I mentioned. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. It's such a pleasant. Sveta, Slava, thank you so much for building this tool and inviting me. Love it from the second.
Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you for carving out time in your busy schedule.
Yeah, I'm so sorry I need to run. Otherwise, I will be kicked out of the conference.
Oh, no. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
and fire a question. Is it okay to keep going? Are we?
Yes, sure, absolutely. We continue.
Bye, Anna. She did inspire me to think of something that I'd be curious what y'all in the community, the members think, is around ambassadorship, because at Traffic Labs, I built the ambassador program. And I have to say, like, I could, if I let myself, get emotional over that experience in a good way, in a sentimental way, because it was almost like every day when I woke up, I had this team that was actually 100 strong rather than just my immediate team. And they would pick up, you know, it's like, you don't have to be the only person who is giving.
Yeah, that's super important. We had an ambassador program that I built at Gremlin as well. And that was really cool. It's called Chaos Champions. So same sort of thing. I think those programs are awesome. Like, and also just being able to build your team. Like, I was always able to get headcount for our teams at Gremlin, you know? So having really supportive leadership that values all of the different projects you're doing. Like, for example, Julie, who's in the chat, she joined Gremlin purely to run our certificate programs at the beginning. We were like, we just built this first certificate. It's super popular. We need someone to own all of our certificates in education. That's a lot of work. That's a full-time job. And so she came on and did that, as well as tons of other things as well. But yeah, I think it's cool. Like, I love with community that you can like kick off an initiative and then see how it goes, and if it works, that can create a whole opportunity for someone to own that, to like drive it forward, and it just like creates all these fun memories for everybody. So
Yeah, I loved kicking off the ambassador program at my previous company, dvc.org, or the Iterative, their parent company. It was an open source community, and I remember how hard it was to try to manage it all that from one place. And it was so much easier when we started to look for those kind of stars in different territories who could organize meetups, and they were so well connected locally. They knew all the best people, or like it was so much easier to find the venue. We would just support them with like swag, or we would provide the sponsorship for going to different conferences, and that was absolutely amazing. They helped us spread our like knowledge and grow our community dramatically.
Yeah, it's so cool.
There's an interesting question about how to help people come back to the in-person events after the being kind of virtual and online for the whole pandemic and beyond. What are your thoughts in general on in-person and virtual?
Yeah.
Does anyone actually want to help people come back to in-person events?
Yeah,
I guess that's a really good question. Yeah, Tammy.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I saw Jason posted they're doing ChaosConf in person. So yeah, now I'm at a startup called Statype, stealth mode, so I can't share what we're working on. But yeah, that's it. One of the first big conferences I've seen that's focused on going in person. I've been to a few in-person events. Like I went to Miami Hack Week twice over the last 2 years, which is this awesome, full week long opportunity to hack in an Airbnb house on the water. Like that's an amazing thing if anyone ever wants to do that. And a few smaller dinners like hosted by Google and some other folks recently. But that's a big thing. Like I personally think, it'll be exciting to watch the first people do it. That's what I'm waiting to see. The first big conferences. I know, KubeCon's happening right next week. Some people are going to be there in person. A lot of it's remote. So we'll see what happens. Yeah.
I don't know how you all feel, but I know for me, a huge thing is freedom. Like if I feel like I think this has been part of the impetus of the Great Resignation is knowing that, oh, I can have freedom. Well, then why would I not want it? And so for me, it's almost like knowing that there's conferences going on makes me more inclined to go to them because I'm not forced to go to them now.
Yep.
Yeah.
100% on that. The idea of in-person events after we've been at home for so long, and how we are moving from, let's do this huge conference with like 1 hour talks, rather than just maybe we'll have a series of like a more local meetups, or just kind of we will broadcast some content, and then we'll have a gathering somewhere in the office with like less folks, nice snacks. So just kind of the room where people can, like get together, and they don't need to travel 7 hours on a plane and be away from their families or something like that.
Yeah.
And kind of a reshaping this whole system, I think, is worth checking out. Just make it fun, make it something aside. I mean, make it something besides just the content and speakers. Maybe make it like, let's play games, let's have a wine tasting, let's just get together for, I don't know, barbecue. Why not?
I think I can tell by how you speak that it's like, well, clearly this is a room full of engineers, and I'll have to say, I was saying to someone the other day, I'm more of an engineer than I am a marketer. I mean, I love what I do, and because it's infrastructure of connecting people and content and all these things, and knowledge. But listening to you, I go, well, you're coming to this so logically from a mindset of an engineer, of like deconstructing it and then making it. But if it's okay, I'd like to touch on, I don't want to forget, Elena Gravovac asked, do all the tech companies need to create a community to participate in one? I think you touched on this, but I actually have a thought around this, because I got lucky with Gather because my pain was so severe that I had to create Gather to survive, and Gather just happened to be well received. But it wasn't intentional. But my personal feeling is that we tend to pretend that culture as a whole well, let me speak as someone who is more than once had people go, oh, you came on board, it's been 2 weeks, why don't we have 100,000 people on Twitter yet, or whatever, right? And it's like, that's not
epic. or 1 million, why not?
Why not just throw it out there? And I always used to say, and I'm not sure I would say it now, but I always used to say, well, what if our 2 followers are Oprah and Elon, right? Like, are you still going to tell me that, quantities sucks? So I guess with that, I would say, like, for me, when I read that or hear that, Elena, I feel like there's so many variables that go into it. And there's also a ton I don't know if Tammy would agree, and Sveta would agree that there is a bit of luck to all of this, right? Like, it's like surfing, like you got to catch the wave. And that's why I always feel very passionately. And sometimes my passion, it's like I'm fire. And when you're fire, it's like you can burn yourself too. But it's like, I feel like community is very opportunistic, right? Like, it's like a party. Like, you can't, when the vibe's there, you got to go. You got to,
Yeah, I agree. It's a lot like surfing. Like, I love surfing, and I often use surfing metaphors. I'm like, we got to catch the wave. We're on the wave right now. Like, and I've ridden waves that lasted so long. Like Byron Bay, you can catch a wave that lasts like 15 minutes. It's epic.
Wow.
And just standing on that wave, riding along. And I think that's what it feels like when you're in a community and you're helping to build it and grow it. And you're like, wow, like we've got some amazing momentum here. And it's just naturally occurring. And then you're thinking, like, what do I want to do next? Like, that was already so cool. Like, how do we top this next? And that's often what you've got to think of those new ideas too. Like, bring on new people with new ideas, experiment to try and create that next opportunity. And, surfers travel the world looking for the next best wave. So
is that your hair inspired by water?
I do love blue. Blue's my favorite color. You can see I got my blue guitar, blue couch. There's a lot of blue.
I call Tammy the punk rock mermaid.
Oh,
I love it.
Because she is.
Yeah,
and
it's pretty ombre right now. So good.
And I wanted to add to that about like building a community yourself or joining the existing community. It's kind of the community has been a buzzword for the last maybe 5 to 3 years. It's been like everywhere. Everyone is talking about how the software is not sold, is adopted, and that's all create the community. And oftentimes I see companies creating the community and then just doing nothing. It's like, okay, we have this product, maybe you should form a community about it. And then they kind of just provide this Slack or something and nothing is happening there aside from like product updates. And this is not how community is formed. This is totally a place for product-led communities, but it's more about what is your goal? Like, what is something that brings you all together? And if you feel like you have talked to several people or maybe many people and there's a certain gap in like existing communities, or you're joining the community and feel like something is wrong, you kind of like the audience, but maybe you are not happy with how everything is going on there. Maybe it's a little bit too old, or maybe it's a little bit too restricted, or maybe not inclusive enough. This is the way to go. And this is where you can totally start by just forming a little community. I don't know, maybe just like a coffee club where you gather like 5 of you for a coffee. And this can be a start to a great community. But there should definitely be some some bigger thing like bringing you all together.
Well, didn't Patrick Woods somewhat recently write a very good article, I thought, for A16Z about community as a actual organizational, I forget what the title of the article was, but it was basically saying that when you build a company, it shouldn't be like sales, marketing, or, the community should be an actual branch of the body.
Yeah.
Period. From the start.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. I know. I was like, that article. I tell my team, some of my team, I'm a bit like Grumpy Cat. Like, it takes a lot for me to do. But when I saw that article, I was like, hallelujah,
Yeah, we are running out of time, but I have 2 more questions. The one is from the audience. Do you have any books to recommend? And I can start by recommending this book. I just grabbed it from my book is back there. It's called The Art of Gathering by Priya Parker. It's really nice, and it's not necessarily about technical communities, but how people actually get together, how they find their
cool.
tribe, their folks, and how to foster this like relationship other than just force them. So if you have any other books that you can recommend, Monica is asking.
Yeah, I don't know. I've read a lot of books, but I haven't read my favorite community book yet. You know, I think it's an opportunity for someone out there to write it. I'm still looking for the one for like the world of tech, like community for developers. Like that's what I'm really passionate about, developer first communities. Yeah. So, but I like the idea of getting ideas from other industries too. So I'm going to check out that book, The Art of Gathering. Thank you.
I'm sorry, nothing's coming to mind right now, but it's just that it's like Thursday.
it's still a pretty new new industry at all.
This is one book to read, like Brave Not Perfect, and it's by like the founder of Girls Who Code and CEO. So like, you know, you can read books by people who've created communities, which I think is awesome, and hear their stories. Maybe like, that's kind of cool as well. But it's still pretty different to what I would do at work. Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much for coming.
Let me ask one last question. It's a fun one. Like, what is your country? Like, what is the country you want to visit next when you can travel everywhere?
For me, I want to go to specifically London because like I'm a big Harry Potter fan and I just like really miss London. I don't know why. There you go.
Gosh, I have no idea. I mean, I would just take Hawaii, and
Hawaii is awesome.
It's not a different country either.
Yeah,
and I would go to Australia and New Zealand.
Oh yeah, Australia's great.
I go to Bondi Beach.
Bondi's amazing.
Yes. Okay.
Yep.
I want to go to London too.
Yeah, I live in Florida, so it's a lot like Australia. So I feel like I need to go somewhere gloomy, cloudy, like dark, like. London's not too far.
You can come to Portland in winter.
I know. I was thinking that.
Thank you.
I will give a shout out to Marrakesh in Morocco because I did go there once.
Ooh, I want to go there.
It was honestly, I was just kind of following my soul as a random traveler, but it was honestly incredible. Like the lessons you learn there and the amount that we have of everything here, frankly, and also the artisanal stuff and their sheer willingness to just be grateful all the time, or at least. It's just amazing.
Yeah, that sounds beautiful. That's my mom's favorite place to go as well. Yeah, gotta go there.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. That was absolutely amazing. We will reach out to the winner of our Australian snack pack. And Tammy will send it to you. Thank you everyone for coming. We'll be holding this monthly meetups. Our next meetup is going to be about open source communities. So stay tuned and thanks again for coming.
So great.
Thanks everyone.
Bye.